Is anyone in Washington listening? Let's ask Congressman Connie Mack, Republican from Florida. Congressman, great of you to be here in person.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Well, are you listening?
I am listening, and I think actually a lot of people are listening. Unfortunately, we still have the Democrats in the Senate and the president who are not listening. We've been saying, Republicans have been saying a long time that the regulation schemes are out of control. There's proposals to freeze all new regulation. I think we need to go beyond that, and I think it's what the part of that article is about, is that we need to look at all the existing regulations and weed out the ones that don't make any sense. I'll give you an example. There's a small business in my district trying to expand. They just were able to do it, a 5,000 square foot manufacturing plant. It was 31 different permits they had to apply for and get just to expand. That's to create jobs. So if government is standing in the way of the job creators, how does the president think we're going to grow our way out of this?
So let's assume that we all say, all right, you're right, Congressman, and we have to do something about this. But on the other side, they have a bunch of other different ideas. Is it fair to say that you guys need to give a little bit too and stop just talking about cutting taxes and cutting regulation and be willing to give in on some of that in order to get what that you want, the so-called grand bargain that nobody seems to be talking about anymore?
You know, for me, I think that's kind of a false perspective, right? Because if you believe that raising taxes is going to kill jobs,
right,
then you can't give on that. And if you believe that more regulation is going to kill job creation, then you can't give on that. So, instead, what I would say is that
so we're stuck, kind of.
Well, we're temporarily stuck. The president, you see the way he's acting these days, he knows that he's going to lose his re-election if he continues to do what he's been doing. So he's running back as hard as he can to the left to try to shore up that base. But this is the act of a desperate president.
But early in the year, he did come out and say, and has moved forward on it, to reduce redundant regulation in the government, calling on all the various departments to examine that very thing. Why is that not enough?
Well, because the president's good at saying things but not following through. I'll give you an example. Going back to 2009, the president has been saying we need to pass the free trade agreements with Colombia and Panama. In 2010, in the State of the Union, he says we have to pass these free trade agreements. In his most recent speech to the Congress, he said we have to pass. The free trade agreements are sitting on his desk. All he has to do is send them to the Congress and they will pass. The president doesn't have any credibility. He says he wants to reduce regulation. He's done nothing about it.
So are there things that you can do in a Republican-controlled House of Representatives, or are there not? I mean, the frustrating part, I think, for us is we do a lot of interviews like this, and it almost seems like we're having pointless conversations to some degree because, people make proposals, but at the end of the day, nobody agrees on anything, and nothing gets done.
Well, I think the conversation is very important because what we've seen is the American people are more engaged now than they've ever been, and they're more educated on the issues than they've ever been. My last town hall meeting, we had close to 600 people there. They weren't there talking off talking points. They knew the issues.
Right.
And so these debates are very important. It helps the public, the voters, rally behind ideas that they support, and frankly come up with ideas that Congress needs to start listening to. That's where the Mack Penny plan came from, was a group of grassroots constituents.
All right, Congressman Mack, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Appreciate it.